He showed up every morning for 15 years, fixed bikes blindfolded, and treated everyone with respect. But one patch on a customer's back? It cost him everything. This is the story they tried to bury. It was 8:52 a.m. when Darnell Cooper clocked in at Vince's Custom Cycles in Modesto, California. The concrete outside was already hot enough to fry an egg, and the air smelled like burnt oil and gasoline, just the way Darnell liked it. For the last 15 years, he'd been the first one in and usually the last one out. No fanfare, no ego, just grit and grease. His name wasn't painted on the window, but around town, riders knew the truth. If your engine was choking, Darnell could make it breathe again. He didn't talk much, especially not about himself. A nod here, a pass me that socket there. His loyalty was to the work, not the drama. That's what made him good. But that Thursday morning, something rolled into the shop that made him pause. The growl came first, a deep, nasty rumble. Then the bike appeared, idling like a sleeping pit bull. It was a 2005 Harley-Dyna Superglide, worn and loud, with more attitude than polish. But it wasn't the bike that drew everyone's attention. It was the man on it. He wore a faded denim vest with a bold red and white patch on the back, Hell's Angels, Modesto chapter. The garage got quiet for a second. Some guys stared, others looked away, but Darnell just kept sipping his coffee. The rider dismounted slowly, eyes hidden behind old aviators. Tattoos climbed up his forearms like ivy. "You Darnell?" he asked, voice rough like gravel. "That's me. Guy out back says you're the only one here who knows what the hell he's doing." Darnell gave a quiet nod. "Depends what your ride's telling you." The rider smirked, belt snapped. "She's spitting and jerking. Probably timing." Darnell crouched down, already eyeing the damage. Let's get her breathing again. He had no idea that one simple act of doing his job was about to cost him everything. The job was clean, almost surgical. Darnell had the bike up on the stand in less than 5 minutes. Tools clinked, and sweat rolled down his temples as he worked with silent precision. The rider, who finally introduced himself as Royce, stood nearby, occasionally commenting on engine mods and road trips through the Sierra foothills. It was all small talk, no politics, no club business, no assumptions. Just two men who respected the machine in front of them. By the time Darnell had replaced the rear belt, adjusted the timing, cleaned the air filter, and tightened the primary chain, Royce whistled low. "Feels better already, and I ain't even started her up." "She'll hold," Darnell replied, wiping his hands on a rag. "Just don't ride her like you're bulletproof." Royce laughed and stuck out a calloused hand. "Appreciate it, man. People don't always treat us right. You didn't flinch. Just got to work." Darnell shook his hand firmly. "I fix bikes. I don't fix people." But as Royce revved the engine and roared off into the sunlight, someone else had been watching. Zach, 22, cocky, and 2 months into his apprenticeship. He thought he was clever. He thought he was funny. And while Darnell was hunched over Royce's back tire, Zach had quietly snapped a photo on his phone. Darnell crouched, focused, the Hell's Angels patch in full frame above him. He uploaded it to his Instagram story with a laughing emoji, and the caption, "Guess who's patching up the Angels today? Darnell's switching sides." A few of the guys in the shop chuckled when they saw it. No one told Darnell. No one warned him. To them, it was just a dumb joke. But online, the image took on a life of its own. By midnight, it had been screenshot, reposted and reshared across biker Facebook groups, garage gossip pages, and even made its way to a rival shop's feed. One picture, no context. And by morning, it would have burned 15 years of loyalty to the ground. The next morning at Vince's Custom Cycles felt different. Not loud, not hostile, just quiet in the wrong kind of way. Darnell walked in at his usual time, boots thudding, thermos in hand, but the energy had shifted. No one made eye contact. No one called out a morning, "Coop." The place buzzed, but not from tools or torque wrenches. It buzzed with whispers, side glances, that kind of awkward stillness that tells you something's been said behind your back, and said loud enough for everyone to hear. He shrugged it off at first. Maybe they were tired, maybe it was the heat. But by 10 a.m., it was impossible to ignore. One regular customer who'd scheduled a tire change spotted Darnell and quietly asked to reschedule, said he'd wait until someone else was free. Another stood at the front counter whispering to the receptionist, his eyes darting to Darnell like he was radioactive. Darnell wasn't a man to panic, but he wasn't blind either. He felt the weight of something building, unspoken and unjust. During his lunch break, he sat alone on the old bench behind the shop, same spot he always used. Sandwich in one hand, rag in the other. That's when Zach walked out, phone in hand, trying and failing to hide a smirk. "Yo, Coop," he said, not even bothering to sit. "You see the comments on my story yesterday?" Darnell looked up, slow and steady. "What story?" Zach turned his screen around. There it was, the photo of Darnell crouched beside Royce's bike. The vest, the patch, the smirk-worthy caption, "Darnell's switching teams. Gonna start calling him Big Red now." Underneath were dozens of comments, some jokes, others far worse. Darnell's jaw tightened. "You posted this?" he asked, voice calm but cold. Zach shrugged like it was nothing. "It's just a joke, man. Don't take it so serious. Everyone knows it's fake." But the damage was already done, and the truth didn't matter anymore. By 2:15 p.m., Darnell knew the walls were closing in. The whole shop was moving around him like a play he'd been cut from. Vince hadn't said a word all day. Normally he'd yell across the garage, ask for an update, crack a dry joke. But today, nothing, not even a nod. Darnell's hands moved, wrench in grip, but his mind spun. He'd been here 15 years, trained half these guys, brought his best even when he didn't feel like it. And now? All of it was getting erased by a damn photo. He finally had enough. He walked off the bay floor, wiping sweat from his forehead as he approached Vince's office. The air inside felt thick, dead silent except for the hum of the ceiling fan. Vince didn't look up. "You got a minute?" Darnell asked, voice low. Vince was flipping through invoices. "You working on that Buell still?" "Was. Now I'm here." Vince leaned back, arms crossed like a man bracing for a fight he didn't want. "Go ahead. That picture," Darnell said, planting both feet. "The one Zach posted. You seen it?" Vince sighed, a long, deep one. "Yeah." Darnell waited, but nothing else came. "So?" he pressed. "You got a lot of nerve bringing that to me," Vince said finally. Darnell blinked. "Come again? You think I like getting calls from old customers asking if we're working with outlaw clubs now? Think that's good for business?" "I fixed a man's bike," Darnell replied. "That's all I did. You know that." "You fixed it," Vince snapped, in front of everyone, with a smile. Darnell stepped forward. "So what now? We turn people away based on jackets they wear." Vince stood slowly. "I'm telling you it's not a good look for you, or us. But it was fine when I worked on that skinhead's Triumph last month, huh?" Darnell said. "Or the guy with a Confederate keychain." Silence. Then Vince dropped it. "I'm letting you go, just like that. No write-up, no discussion." 15 years erased in 5 words. For a moment, Darnell just stood there. His mind couldn't quite catch up with his ears. Fired. Over a picture. Over gossip. "You're firing me?" he finally asked, voice breaking slightly, not out of fear, but disbelief. Vince looked down at his desk, like maybe the ink on the papers would offer him a better excuse than he could speak out loud. "It's not a good fit anymore," he mumbled. "A good fit?" Darnell repeated, his voice rising now, just a little. "I trained half the guys in this shop. I stayed late, worked holidays, took pay cuts when business dipped. And now I'm not a good fit." Vince avoided his eyes. "This isn't personal," he said flatly. Everything about it was personal. Darnell's hands clenched at his sides. The room suddenly felt smaller, tighter, oppressive. "You know what this is," he said. "It's not about no damn picture. You're afraid of what people think, not about what's true." Still, Vince didn't deny it. Instead, he opened a drawer and slid a thin envelope across the desk. "Final check. Vacation hours included." Darnell didn't even reach for it. "You ever think about what kind of message this sends?" he asked. "To every guy back there watching? To every young kid who looks like me and wants to believe that doing the right thing matters?" "I'm thinking about keeping my doors open," Vince said quietly. That was all he had to offer. Darnell stared at him for a long second, then turned and walked out of the office without another word. The door clicked behind him, quiet but final. The shop had gone still. People paused in their work, watching him, pretending not to. Zach stood in the corner by the coolant rack, pretending to be busy. Darnell didn't look at him. He walked to his station, opened the drawer where his personal tools were stored, and slowly began packing them, socket by socket, wrench by wrench, every piece paid for in sweat and silence. He clocked out for the last time at 3:07 p.m., didn't say goodbye, didn't need to. He'd already said enough. The heat outside hit Darnell like a slap. His Silverado had been baking in the sun all day, and when he climbed in, the steering wheel nearly burned his palm. But he didn't even flinch. He just sat there, behind the wheel, staring at the cracked dash, listening to the soft ticking sound of a cooling engine. 15 years. Gone. No warning, No meeting, no thank you, just an envelope and a lie. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Heard what happened. That was wrong, bro. I'm sorry. No name. No accountability. Just silence wrapped in pity. He tossed the phone onto the passenger seat and exhaled, long and hollow. That night he couldn't sleep. The ceiling fan above his bed spun slow, casting tired shadows across the walls. He lay there, staring at the blades, mind racing. He wasn't just angry, he was betrayed. Not because he expected people to stand and cheer for him, but because he expected at least one of them to say the truth out loud. He didn't do anything wrong. He fixed a bike. That was his job. He did it well, and they punished him for that. The next morning, Darnell's body moved on autopilot, coffee, boots, keys in hand, until he paused at the front door and realized he had nowhere to be. No garage, no workbench, no familiar clatter of ratchets and impact drivers, just silence. But Darnell Cooper wasn't built to sit still. He didn't mope, he moved. That's how you survived in Modesto. So he grabbed his toolbox, loaded it into the truck bed, and headed into town. Not to beg, not to explain, just to keep from drowning in stillness. He ended up at Skip's Auto, a dusty family-run garage on the south side. Skip, an old white guy with a gut and a bad knee, stepped out wiping his hands on a greasy rag. "You look like you just buried someone." "Just got fired," Darnell replied. "For doing my job." Skip squinted. "Heard some chatter. Something about a biker? Guy needed help. I helped him." "That's it." Skip shook his head. "Yeah. I've seen this movie before." And suddenly, Darnell wasn't alone in this anymore. Skip leaned against the garage doorway, arms folded, eyes fixed on the street like he was thinking back through decades of the same nonsense. He didn't say much at first. Didn't have to. "You're black," he said finally, and the guy had a patch. "That's all folks needed." Darnell nodded slowly. "Doesn't matter that I didn't ask where he rode, didn't talk club business. Just fix the damn bike." Skip scratched his chin. "Don't take this the wrong way, but Vince didn't fire you because of a patch. He fired you because he's scared, afraid the phone stops ringing if the wrong people get the wrong idea." "It's already stopped ringing," Darnell muttered. "You need anything?" Skip offered. "Cash, work, parts, you let me know. I appreciate it. But I'm not done with this yet." Later that night, back at home, Darnell sat at his small kitchen table, the photo still glowing on his phone screen. It hadn't been deleted. Zach hadn't even tried. The comment count had doubled. Some were jokes, others downright vicious. One user posted, "So Vince's shop rolls with gangs now?" Another knew something was off about that dude, but it was one repost that made Darnell's stomach drop. Reeves Body Paint 209, a rival shop across town. They'd reshared the image with their own caption, "Our team keeps it clean. No gangs, no questions." Darnell sat up straighter. This wasn't just a joke anymore. This was sabotage. He clicked through their profile. The timing was perfect. A week earlier they'd started a promotion, offering discounted detailing and engine work, targeting riders from the same area Vince's shop pulled business from. The caption wasn't accidental, it was aimed. Someone was using that photo to discredit Vince's shop, and Darnell was the fall guy. He opened a notebook, started writing down names. Screenshots, comments. He wasn't planning revenge, he was building a case. Then, a knock at the door. Heavy, twice. Darnell opened it slowly. There stood Royce, vest on, boots muddy, that same calm but unreadable stare. "I heard what happened," he said. "What do you want? Mind if I come in?" And what Royce said next would turn everything upside down. Darnell stepped back just enough to let Royce enter, not out of trust, but out of curiosity. The biker's heavy boots thudded against the linoleum, his eyes scanning the small, lived-in space. Family photos, a toolbox by the kitchen table, the scent of leftover coffee clinging to the air. "I saw the post," Royce said, his voice low but clear. "Didn't take long before it started making rounds. Facebook, Reddit, some private pages." Darnell folded his arms. "Guess it don't matter what's true when the lie's easier to share." Royce gave a short nod. "Yeah. People eat that kind of story up. Biker walks into a shop, black mechanic helps him. Boom, people connect the dots that were never even there." He paused, looked Darnell in the eye. "You lost your job over that?" "Fired the next day. Vince didn't even ask for my side." Royce clenched his jaw. "You ever stop to ask who wanted that to happen?" That caught Darnell mid-breath. "What do you mean?" Royce sat down, pulled out his phone, and scrolled through some texts. "There's a guy. Name's Trevor Baines, used to ride. Tried to get patched in but never made the cut. Owns a body shop. Reeves Body Paint. Darnell felt his spine tighten. Royce continued, he's always had it out for Vince. Said the shop was going soft. Said real riders needed a place that respected the old ways. When he heard I dropped my bike off at your shop, he started digging. Zach, Darnell said, the realization hitting. He took the photo. You think? Royce nodded grimly. I think Baines reached out. I think your boy Zach sold him the photo. Might have been for cash, might have been for clout. But Baines used you, to start a fire under Vince's reputation. Darnell gritted his teeth. So Vince panicked. And I got sacrificed. You didn't judge me, Royce said. I walked in with a patch people fear, and you treated me like a man. That matters. Royce stood, pulled a folded piece of paper from his vest and dropped it on the table. It was a printed screenshot, a message thread between Zach and a burner account. The same one linked to Reeves Body Paint. You get the truth straight, Royce said. Let me know. I don't mind setting the record right if that's what it takes. As the door shut behind him, Darnell sat back down. This wasn't about loyalty anymore. This was about exposing the people who built their success on his destruction. The next morning, Darnell wasn't fixing bikes, he was fixing his name. He pulled into Vince's custom cycles just before 9 a.m., not through the back, not sneaking through the garage like someone with something to prove. No, he walked straight through the front entrance, folder under one arm, purpose in his step. The shop grew quiet. Tools paused mid-turn, heads turned. Vince looked up from the register, face pale, voice sharp. What the hell are you doing here? Darnell set the folder on the counter and tapped the cover. This, he said, is everything. Every repost, every comment, every message tied to that photo. And they all lead back to one name, Trevor Baines at Reeves Body Paint. Vince frowned. Didn't reach for the folder. What are you saying? I'm saying Zach sold the photo. To Baines, who spun it into a lie to wreck your business and get me out of the picture. You're saying Zach sold you out? Vince asked quietly. I'm saying you fired the wrong man, Darnell shot back. Vince finally opened the folder. Inside were screenshots, usernames, repost timestamps, and the message thread between Zach and the burner account, now proven to be connected to a number used by Reeves. Silence. You didn't want the truth, Darnell added. You wanted peace. So you threw me under the bus and hoped nobody noticed. Vince rubbed the back of his neck, deflated. I didn't know. No, Darnell said. You didn't want to know. Then, the front door opened. In walked Royce, vest on, boots caked in dry mud, sunglasses hanging from his shirt collar. He didn't hesitate. Walked straight to the counter, stood next to Darnell, and slapped down a stack of printed flyers. Name's Royce Benton, he said loudly. I ride with the Modesto chapter, clean since 2011. I run a halfway house out in Ceres. That man, he pointed at Darnell, treated me better than half this damn town. And you fired him for doing his job? That's coward work. The whole shop had frozen. No one moved. Royce leaned in close. You got clients with family locked up, clients with history. You going to fire all of them too when someone whispers a rumor? Then he turned to Darnell. You start your own place, I'll bring every rider I know. He turned and walked out, leaving the room in stunned silence. Vince sat down behind the counter, slow, small. I messed up, he whispered. I'm not coming back, Darnell replied. Why not? Because when it mattered you didn't stand up for me. Now that the smoke's clearing you want to fix your name. But I can't work somewhere loyalty only flows one way. He picked up his folder, turned to leave. At the door, he stopped, looked over his shoulder one last time. You want to make it right, he said. Tell the truth, loud and clear. Then he was gone. But Darnell wasn't done. Now it was time to rebuild. Darnell didn't waste time. By Monday morning, while the rest of Modesto was still catching up on the drama, he was already making moves. His phone lit up with messages. Some from old co-workers apologizing, some from customers asking where they could find him. But it was the message from Royce that came through loudest, garage or no garage, I'm bringing my crew to you. And Royce wasn't bluffing. By Friday, Darnell's driveway had turned into a makeshift repair shop. There was a Harley with bad brakes, a Yamaha with a cracked belt, a Triumph waiting for diagnostics, folding table, jacked lift, a plastic bin for parts. No fancy signage, just honest work in the California sun. The riders didn't care about patches, black riders, Latino riders, even white ones who didn't say much, just nodded with respect. They didn't come for Vince. They didn't come for clean floors or a front desk with attitude. They came for Darnell Cooper, the man who treated every bike like it was a heartbeat and every rider like they mattered. Word spread. Fast. Local blogs picked up the story. Then a Modesto news station aired a piece titled, "Black Mechanic Fired After Helping Biker. Was it fair?" They showed the photo, the comments. They even quoted Vince, whose voice trembled on camera. "I made the wrong call under pressure. Darnell didn't deserve that." It wasn't enough to fix the past, but it was enough to fuel the future. Within 2 weeks, Darnell had rented a small unit near South Avenue. Royce helped with a security deposit. Skip donated a lift. A local parts guy offered credit terms. He called it Grit Cycle Garage. The name wasn't polished, but it was real. On opening day, there were 10 bikes lined up. Some needed work. Some just came to show support. One rider, a kid barely 20, rolled up on a chopper with shaky welding and eyes full of hope. "You Coop?" he asked. "That's me," Darnell replied. "You really help anyone? If they got a machine and respect?" "Yeah," the kid grinned. "Then you're the only real one left." As the sun dipped low over Modesto, Darnell stood outside his new shop. Grease on his hands, sweat on his neck, pride in his chest. They judged him for the vest on a customer's back, not the work in his hands. Big mistake. Because when the dust settled, he built something they couldn't tear down. Would you trust someone just based on a vest or the work in their hands? Tell us below. If you believe Darnell deserved better, hit that like button and share this with someone who needs to hear it.